Hello and good morning. My name is Vic. Today we're going to be making a Filipino style breakfast, and this is the Brisbane COVID lockdown edition. To make the Pan De Sal, first and foremost, we're going to need to activate some yeast. I will be using some dry yeast and some brown sugar. In fact, any sugar will do, brown, white, or castor sugar. In a small bowl, I'm going to take about 2 teaspoons of dry yeast. I'll mix in 1 teaspoon of brown sugar. Sugar is really important because it will help activate the yeast. In my earlier trials of baking, I ended up with rock hard bread pieces because I didn't know how to properly activate the yeast. I'm placing about 3/4 cups of room temperature water. Hot water will kill the yeast and cold water will keep it sleeping. Room temperature water will do just nicely. I'm going to give it a quick stir and set it aside for 10 minutes. While we're waiting for our yeast to rise, we can prepare the rest of the ingredients. For our dry ingredients, we will need flour, salt, sugar, and for our wet ingredients, we need 1 egg, 55 grams of butter, 1 cup of milk, preferably whole milk. Grab a mixing bowl and let's begin. Add about 3 3/4 cups of flour. Add 1/4 cup of sugar. Add 1 teaspoon of salt. Mix them together and create a hole in the middle. Now let's add in the wet ingredients. Add 1 cup of milk, preferably at room temperature. I'm going to cheat a little bit by melting my butter in the microwave. If you do this, make sure that your butter has cooled down before you add it in. Add the activated yeast mixture. Whisk the egg and add that one in too. Mix it all together. The mixture should be moist but not wet and sticky. You can adjust the moisture by adding a bit of flour. Once you're happy with the consistency, set the mixture aside, lightly cover, and let it rest for 10 minutes. After the dough has rested, we're going to do some kneading. Prepare a clean surface. A large wooden chopping board usually does the trick. Add a bit of flour to the mixture and to the chopping board. Check that the mixture is not too moist or sticky. Trust me, you'll have an easier time if you can add in more flour while the mixture is still in the bowl. You'll know that the consistency is right when none of the dough sticks to your hands. Now we can place our dough on the chopping board and start kneading. Make sure that you don't overwork the dough. It should feel moist and soft. I'm going to use the same bowl for rising our dough. Add a little bit of oil and spread around. Transfer the dough, place a cover and let it rise for about 1 to 1.5 hours. For this particular batch, I let it rise for about 1.5 hours. Prepare a clean surface and dust it with a little bit of flour. I'm going to cut the dough into 24 slices. It doesn't have to be perfect, so don't worry if some slices are smaller than others. I'm using a round pizza pan because why not? Cover it with baking paper. Now we're ready to be rolling our little Pan De Sal. Notice that I've skipped the step of rolling them in breadcrumbs. That's because I'm getting a bit lazy and I'm getting hungry. You don't have to press down hard to roll the little balls. Just lightly work it into a little ball by folding it over itself and pinching to close. The balls are going to rise a little bit more before you place them in the oven. You can place them relatively close to each other on the pan and they will take up any remaining gaps. Preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. While we wait for our oven to heat up, we can prepare our corned beef and egg omelette. This part is definitely easier. I could have taken the easy way out and cooked some rice to go along with the corned beef and egg, but I want my Pan De Sal. Chop up a couple of cloves of garlic, slice up some onions. I'm gonna beat up a couple of eggs, and now we're ready to cook. Let's get started with the egg omelette. I'm gonna add plenty of oil because this is Filipino style, and wait for it to get hot. Then we add in our eggs. I want the omelette to be moist on the inside with some crispiness around the edges. I'm not gonna cook it all the way. I'm going to fold it over itself while the top is still a bit raw. The idea is it's going to continue to cook itself when I get it out of the pan. Now let's work on our corned beef. Ideally, I would have loved some tomato to include with the garlic and onions. But since we are in lockdown, I'm skipping the tomato. I'm going to saute the garlic and onions, And while I wait for the garlic and onions to cook, I have a little bit of time to place my Pan De Sal tray into the oven. I want this bread to come out hot as I get done with the corned beef. I hope I don't burn anything though. Every oven is different. I'm using a fan-forced oven, so I will only need about 8 to 10 minutes to finish baking my Pan De Sal. A conventional oven should take around 18 to 20 minutes to bake. This is starting to smell and look really good. Here we go. Egg omelette, corned beef, and Pan De Sal, Filipino style. And there you have it, Filipino style breakfast. Did it take a lot of time? Yes. Was it hard? No, not really. Is it worth it? Tell me. See you next time.